Hi, welcome to JD Sports. I'm Derek Hood. That's the way you can follow personal Twitter of the show's Twitter page, which is @_JD Sports. You can listen to us on SoundCloud by just going to SoundCloud and following the description in the YouTube link, and on our Facebook and Twitter and everything else. Dwight.
Something says description on it. Click on that once. What's up?
A lot of things happening in the NFL that aren't on the field things. This is what the NFL kind of likes, that even though they have games going on in front of our eyes on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays, that we still have more to talk about when it comes to trades. And they might not even really like that we have things to talk about when it comes to Zeke Elliott, but
Colin Kaepernick,
right? But off the field, and the owner of Houston, which we will get to. The NFL might not like those couple negative things that we talked about, but they still probably like that we have things to talk about. The thing that keeps them running, the cycle keeps on moving.
For now.
As long as you are talking about, and the NBA it does this a little bit, the MLB has a little bit of this, but the reason the MLB isn't as popular as the NFL is because there's not as much to talk about off the field with the MLB. There's not as much to talk about off the court with the NBA. With the NFL...
There's a lot of NBA off the court.
There is a lot, but is it as much? And it's almost as much as the NFL. It's getting there. But my point is we could do a show every single week, all year long, all 2 weeks in a year, right? If I'm not mistaken, all 52 weeks of that year, we could do an NFL show, and maybe 3 or 4 weeks of those would be dry, but for the most part...
That's exaggerating, but sure.
I think that we could come up with something. My point, and I think we can come up with a lot more NFL shows than we could NBA shows, is my point, right? But MLB would kind of follow there. NHL would kind of follow after that. But my point being is that the NFL likes when you talk about things off the field more than on the field. But the one thing that they never had down that other sports have gigantically coined off of is the trade deadline, right? The MLB trade deadline is absolutely has been the best trade deadline for a very long time. But then the NBA has come in and challenged it the last couple of years, and the NHL
more so with just hype,
right? But then and the NHL has the free agency and the salary cap is what made these trade deadlines so great. Yeah. The NFL is, when it comes to the salary cap, they're pretty new. They're pretty new league. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes, like they were one of the last people that really the salary cap. The way they introduced their salary cap was different than the other leagues, and it made a lot of teams very scared, especially with the way free agency is now and everything. It made a lot of teams very scared to make any trades because, to be real with you, what do we always say about NBA trades? The NBA trades, the team that wins every single time is the team that gets the superstar. You can get 10 players for that one superstar, and 9 out of 10 times we are still going to say the team that got that superstar is going to win the trade, right?
Yeah.
Because those 10 guys might just be bums in comparative, right. to use the way Dwight looks at some of these trades, that you're just getting some bums in return for a really good guy.
Sandwich.
Exactly. So my point being, exactly, yes. And so my thought is, the NFL,
somebody got a ham sandwich this week.
They get very scared to get involved in this kind of thing, but this year, now it's not anywhere near what the MLB trade deadline is, or the NHL, or even the NBA trade deadline is, but for the first time, the NFL has had a good amount of trades with some names in it, I would say, on the deadline.
A little bit.
Did you hear about the Browns, before we get into some specific trades, did you hear about the Browns doing the most Brown things of all time?
What was that? Who? What?
So the Browns tried to get Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't work that out. They had a deal in place with the Bengals. The trade deadline is at 4 o'clock, right? They started calling everyone. Once Garoppolo got traded, they started calling teams. They found they were going to go get the Bengals backup quarterback, Ajayi McCarron. He was an Alabama quarterback, won a couple national championships for them. Has looked okay. Hasn't played a whole lot. They had this in place, right? The Browns and the Bengals came to this agreement somewhere around 3:30. The Bengals submit their paperwork. The Browns front office apparently went to celebrate the trade and never submitted the paperwork. And it was too late. Like, apparently they went out for a dinner or whatever, I guess, to celebrate the trade, or I don't know, maybe drinks, as that's what people do. I don't know exactly what they were doing celebrating, but they left the office and they did not submit their end of the trade in time. So they didn't get either quarterback that they wanted. So that was the Browns Browning. Now, do you want to get some real trades here? Some trades that actually happen?
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Let's talk about some real teams.
I figured. I mean,
that's
I wanted to inform the
ridiculous.
people.
That's ridiculous. Are you kidding me?
I need to inform the people.
Are you kidding me?
That's the Browns. That's what I like, following these things that happen behind the scenes type thing. That's so, come on, Browns. That is the people running the Browns. I feel so bad for the coach, Hugh Jackson, because he's going to get fired. He's going to end up being the guy that takes all of this.
First of all, he knew he was going to get fired when he got hired.
But I feel bad for him because he wanted Deshaun Watson. He called Deshaun Watson and told him he was trying to draft him on draft day. He wanted Deshaun Watson, and they passed on him twice. He wanted Garoppolo. They couldn't get it done. He wanted A.J. McCarron, I guess. I'm sure he was at least involved in, let's get something. They botched that as a front office. So, and yet he's going to get the blame of why there's losses on the field. And that's not fair. Sadly, he's going to end up getting fired. I really thought the way things were going that they were going to start doing well, and then I'm not winning this year. I thought that they were going to at least start progressing in the sense of getting a roster together, and it has gone very downhill for them.
You optimistic to a fault
with the way they went with this. Their highest paid player is a quarterback that's probably going to start for the Broncos next week. So.
Optimism to a fault. That doesn't make any sense. You had no basis on ever banking on anything the Browns do until, I don't know, ever.
So, I brought up Jimmy...
if it ever happens, which it's not. That's
I brought up Jimmy Garoppolo.
Who?
Jimmy Garoppolo. He was a backup quarterback to Tom Brady for the last 3.5 years. Started 3 games for the Patriots last year. Got hurt in the middle of one of them. Went 2-1 in those games. The one he got hurt, they won, but they were up by 17 points when he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. So...
Okay.
Jimmy Garoppolo. This isn't a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. You've learned well behind him, so you're going to obviously do well. But
no, it's never with the Patriots. So I don't even know why this was even a thing that happened.
He at least has the intangibles coming out of college. I don't know what he's going to do in the NFL, but at least coming out of college, he was rated higher than Brian Mallett. Brian Hoyer, 3.5 years ago. No, but I'm saying, his skill set doesn't change in 3.5 years. If he still has it, he still has it. We will see when it comes to the 49ers, and that's not going to be a good way to test it either because the 49ers...
There's been a lot of great college players. That doesn't mean anything.
Oh, I don't disagree. I'm just saying when it comes to Ryan Mallett, Brian Hoyer, all the ex-Patriot quarterbacks, right? Matt Castle, that none of those guys were highly rated. Even Tom Brady, none of those guys were highly rated coming out of college. Jimmy Garoppolo was highly rated coming out of college. He ends up being a third-round pick, but he has a lot of raw talent.
Shouts to him. Raw talent, 3 years in the league.
Belichick did not want to give him up. That has to say something, right? Talent-wise, it has to. Belichick was doing everything he possibly. No, the greatest talent evaluator known to football of all time. In pro football.
We keep saying it, and he didn't want to get rid of him. Well, they did
for a second-round pick.
Maybe that was just the best offer he received.
I don't think that was the best offer they received. I think they were from. You don't know that. No, I don't know that. I think they were getting some better offers earlier in the year, but look. Instead, they had the opportunity to pay him $20 million next season and franchise him. But do you want to pay somebody $20 million to back up Tom Brady?
Tom Brady's going to be there for another 20 years. No.
And that's
there.
So you think they made the right thing? Because here's the thing. Well, see, I knew this was I knew this was going to be bad because you don't think that anything.
And we knew that you were going to say that this might have been a bad thing because you.
No, I don't think this might have been a bad thing. I would have done exactly what they did. I would have done exactly what they did because you can't. I would rather gamble on Tom Brady 10 out of 10 times than Jimmy Garoppolo.
So then, what did you know I was going to say?
I knew that you were going to basically be like, it's not that they traded him.
It's not a big deal.
I was looking.
Why is it a big deal?
Why? I don't think it's a big deal. I was saying that I felt like Jimmy Garoppolo that Belichick doesn't try to hold on to players. Belichick's shown a lot of signs that they tried to restructure this guy's deal multiple times. They were paying him more money than they're paying Tom Brady.
That's cool. I think you're looking way too deeply in this and just looking for a reason to give a little bit of hope to this guy.
Why would they pay him more money than Tom Brady?
I don't know.
Because they felt like they wanted him to stick around till at least Tom Brady was retiring because they felt like he was going to be the heir apparent.
You're Bill Belichick.
I think he understands the system of New England at least. Now, does that make he's going to be good with Shanahan and San Francisco? Right. Absolutely not.
Right.
But I think that the proven 2.5 games that he did play for them, he looked very good in them.
I'm sorry, you want to run that by me again?
Just 2.5 games.
Alrighty.
Right.
Right.
I'm not disagreeing. Like I said, I think they made the right move. Without question, I think they made the right move because you can't go against Tom Brady. Even if they look,
regardless of what they
I'm telling you right now,
in 2.5 games and 3 years ago in college, you can't bank on that. You bank on let's just get something new at this point.
I think
Tom's
that the Niners,
still here.
How much longer has
Tom got? We could just get another pick.
I think the Niners, and that's the thing is that but I think Belichick was scared that it was going to run out of time also, and so he was trying to hold on to somebody. Now you're going to have to try to re-groom somebody for when Brady leaves, unless you were going to leave with Brady, which a lot of people think Belichick's going to do. To the Niners' point, I think it was a good move on their part as well.
Looking way too deeply into.
Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think it's a good move as well on the Niners' part? Because
no. Why?
I was going to say you have a couple games to at least evaluate him in the system to know if you're going to want to draft a quarterback this year or not. You're already going to have a pretty low pick, and it gives him time to not.
What did they give up for him?
A second-round pick. Just one pick, though.
Just one pick. Just one second-round pick. No, I don't like. Again, they're basing this on hype. Like they're basing this on 3 years ago. We're basing this on.
But you're basing a second round pick on hype and what he did in college, and you can't stand that.
Supposedly they're scouts and people that watch this crap all year. So why would you not just go? With what you've been evaluating recently. Why are you going off a 3-year-old hype in 2 games? That meant absolutely nothing.
Well, why would you just go off of a college player from Michigan or South Carolina?
That's what you studied, and that's what's recent.
So they're not studying and scouting Jimmy Garoppolo. They didn't study him in college. Like
as I said, that's studied recent greatness allegedly with these college players.
So what? You just don't think you think that he's in the league for 3 years and he's just rusty and not going to be near as good as a college player coming out of college? I think.
Yeah, why wouldn't he be?
Why would a college player be much better than him?
Because, oh my goodness, you're not following. You're taking it to a whole different.
Well, I'm asking. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're taking it to a whole.
So what's the difference? If it's a chance either way, right? It's a chance no matter what. You're taking a chance on a draft pick or you're taking a chance on Jimmy Garoppolo. I always look at it this way: if you're going,
go with young hype. Go with young hype. Why are you going?
He's 24 years old.
Go with the fucking 20 years old. Go with young hype that is coming out of college. I think that I don't mind what the Niners did, especially and I always say when it comes especially to quarterbacks. I don't understand what are they basing that off of?
There's not a whole lot that I would say.
What are they basing that off of? They're basing it off of 2 games. They're basing it off of 3-year-old hype.
Well, what would they base a second round pick off of? I think that they're basing.
Oh my God, the college year that just happened.
But Jimmy Garoppolo was a 3rd round pick in the first place, and
3 years ago.
So who's to say if he played in college this year, he wouldn't be a 3rd round pick this year or a 2nd round pick this year?
Oh Lord!
Do you know what I'm saying?
No.
Why?
Anyway.
If he was thrown in the mix with these draft
irrelevant.
players,
what you're saying is so irrelevant.
But my point is, if he was thrown in the mix with these current draft players, who's to say he would be not a 2nd or 3rd round pick? Anyways, he was a 3rd round pick, so who's to say he wouldn't? He hasn't played anything. It would be the same as him coming out of college. All right, my point is, I don't think in the long run that you can give up too much at the end of the day if you end up getting a quarterback that is that franchise guy. I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying when Carson Wentz, when the Eagles traded as much as they did for Carson Wentz after Jared Goff, I didn't mind it because if Carson Wentz ends up being a franchise guy, and they ended up parlaying picks back and whatever. But point being is, if it was just raw that deal, I wouldn't mind it because you're looking for your quarterback of the future, and if you end up hitting on that, then it doesn't look there. How much is too much to give up for a good quarterback? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if I'm the 49ers, I don't do that.
Who else got traded today? Well, Ajayi got traded to the Eagles. Speaking of the Eagles,
speaking of a ham sandwich,
for a 4th round pick.
Why?
They have 2 other running backs that they kind of like. Drake.
No, y'all. Why do y'all need another running back?
Well,
I'm not going to use.
As Sal Paolantonio said on
you don't run your running backs
radio the other day, and maybe this will help them run the running backs.
Y'all like the placeholder for decent running backs to go find another team where they could start somewhere and regain their career. So I mean, if that's what's going to happen, shout out to Ajayi.
He might step in and be the starter though. What if LeGarrette Blount just becomes a 3rd and goal guy or the third?
Right. This is what I'm saying. He's going to just sit on the bench and get his legs together.
LeGarrette Blount, as good as he is in New England, he wasn't the every down back.
Mm-hmm.
So why not get a guy that you find talented? Smallwood hasn't been.
You have enough running backs.
Smallwood
that you don't use.
Smallwood has been productive, but you would agree that Ajayi is better than him, and Clement has also been productive, but Ajayi is definitely more talented than him as well. I would say so. I don't mind the move on the Eagles' part because it's 4th-round pick, and you get a guy who just last year he had a game over 200 yards. He's a proven NFL player. Had a great season last season. Has been a decent season this year.
He's been alright this year.
I think the Eagles did it because back to the Sal Paolantonio quote. He said, I heard him say on radio the other day, the Eagles look at this as they're 7-1. So you're not going to think that you're going to go 7-1 next year, 7-1 the year after. You don't think you're going to do that 2, 3, 4 years at a time. So if you're 7-1 this year and you think that you have a real shot at the prize, going all in on that prize is, if you think this is the season you can do it, is not a bad thing. And I'm not against that. You know me, I'm Super Bowl or bust. So if they feel like this can help them in the long run, look, as you get to November and December, as you said, the Eagles haven't run that much. You need to run a little more when it gets colder out, especially in.
So you need 3 running backs to do that.
Well, 2, because who's the 3rd running back? I mean, are you saying Smallwood or Clement would be up there as top tier running backs?
So you have 4 running backs.
But one of them's not going to dress. Smallwood or Clement will not dress. One of them will not dress on Sunday when Ajayi does.
I don't get it.
I think it's I'm in on it. I think it's a good move
on
the Eagles' part.
On it. I just don't get it.
I think it's a good move, right? I don't get it. Anytime you get talent, but anytime you get
paper, yes.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Anytime you get talent, that's not a bad thing.
Anytime you improve a roster spot, anytime you have
and
more,
they upgraded the running back position, no question, by making the move that they made.
When you have more than one good running back, don't turn into the Saints and just not use that second running back. But if you have the 2 and you split that somehow and you utilize both of them, then yeah, it's a good trade. I just don't know if you guys are even going to do that. I don't know why.
He's a good blocking running back, and the Eagles were definitely looking for blocking running backs. Is he
going to be out there every single play?
I honestly, yes. I think
so then every time he's out there, you're going to know that they're just going to pass.
No, but I think he's going to be out there more than Blunt is. I actually think he's going to get majority of the carries, and Blunt's going to be in there for the 3rd and shorts and the third in the goal line situations. I think Ajayi is a little more versatile. And look, they were looking at getting Frank Gore, which I think then Blunt would have still been the number 1 running back. But I think Ajayi has a little more talent than Blunt.
At this point, he's a lot more athletic.
And that's my point. So he's a better every down back than Blunt would be. Well, Blunt still has his role and can get some. Yeah, and also LeGarrette Blount's on a 1-year deal. So that's another thing. You're going to need a guy to carry the load next year.
That's the first bit of logic I've heard about this trade.
As well. So the other side of this is I think they're also trying to secure their future, even though I said about going all in for this year. That's also a way to make sure you have something in the future on top of if you don't get LeGarrette Blount back. Plus, LeGarrette Blount's a little older, so he might not even want to come back. Or if he does, how long is he going to want to come back and how productive? Look, we all see running backs, for some reason, they have good year, and then they hit that hill and it just stops. It's a wall usually.
That's why the Dolphins got rid of him. Which I don't get it. From their perspective, I don't get it either. But, I mean, from y'all, why wasn't y'all concerned at the trade deadline? Forget a running back.
An offensive line player.
Why didn't you get an offensive line player?
I would have been okay with that.
Why didn't you get a corner?
There wasn't one out there.
Why didn't you get?
I think that they're happy with their corners because if you get Sidney Jones back and they got to see what happens with Darby, I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Why don't you get a defensive tackle? Like there's more concerns with Philadelphia.
I think their front seven's good.
Than a running back.
Linebacker. You meant little linebacker.
Right.
But because they're 7-1 and they feel like that defense has played very well. We'll see. Look, you and I agree.
7-1 and the offense has played well. So why'd you need a running back?
You and I agree because I felt like running back on their offense is their weakest spot, other than that tackle. That you're talking about. Even the tackle's not weak. It's just they're not now. They don't have much depth at the tackle position.
And that's the thing with the Eagles is that when you look at the Eagles, you don't talk about their running backs ever. You always talk about their quarterback play, and that's been the case for how many years now?
But so maybe that's them trying to shore this up.
I doubt it. You guys have had names before, and you guys just
look at what
use them.
This is a new regime. This is a new quote. I go coach to coach on this one, and look at what Andy Reid has done with Kareem Hunt, who is better than Ajayi. I'm not saying that Ajayi is as good as Kareem Hunt, but my point is, look at what Andy Reid, who Doug Peterson is a stem of, has done with the running back in the system that they're running. The Eagles run a very similar system. To get a running back in there with that's a little more athletic and versatile, I think they thought he could also teach Clemens, who is also a versatile and athletic running back. He's just young. He has a lot of raw talent, but he makes some mental mistakes, running wrong routes, and he missed some blocks and everything like that. And so I think that this is their thought on that. Last player I want to talk about getting traded, the Carolina Panthers, and I know you have something to say about this one. Traded away Calvin Benjamin, who is their 1, 2, or 3rd top target in every play or on every game this year. He's been in the top 3 of their receiving yards.
Shocking because they had him and they had a tight end.
And they have Funches. I think Devin Funches is good.
Funches, yeah.
I think he's right. He's right under. Those two. He has a couple more catches and a couple more yards, but that's because Benjamin gets double covered. Benjamin gets double covered, so Funches has been the one who has been getting the receptions and the yards. They're really going to be banking on. They have two young wide receivers that haven't gotten a lot of play this year. They're really banking on one of those two to step up. I would assume.
Dumb.
They're what, 5-3?
I don't know, something like
that. Their defense just held Tampa Bay to 3 points. Their offense only scored 20 points in the last 8 quarters. So maybe
I don't get it. You have two decent wide receivers, and you have a great tight end. So you get rid of one of your wide receivers. That doesn't add up to me. Like Cam doesn't have. We always complain. Cam doesn't have weapons. He doesn't have weapons as it is, and so you lost one to New Orleans in the off season. Mm-hmm. Now you get rid of another one. In this trade, which makes absolutely zero sense to me. Like I don't what is.
Which I don't even think they really went after Ginn either when he was a free agent.
I don't understand this notion of the talent that we have when we actually have some type of talent available to us today. We could win and we're 5-3 or whatever the hell our record is. Let's mess that up, and now Cam has less again.
Usually I have a lot of things to defend, and I don't have a whole lot to defend on this one.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
Look.
I didn't even say what I felt about the Dolphins situations, which again, like you get rid of a talent, and that was even a worse case because that was a real actual talent that they had. But my point is, like when you have a piece and when you have something that people go to see games for, when you're garbage and you have nothing, when you don't have a quarterback.
Right. When you're saying with the Dolphins,
I think the Dolphins. I look at this running back. I want to go watch Ajayi run.
I understand what you're saying. I think what the Dolphins look at it as is they just lost 40-0 to the Ravens, and their season's basically over, and they're not going to make the playoffs or make a run.
I don't like that mindset.
So I think in their mind they're going to start going for the future.
I don't like that Philly mindset.
But I don't have an answer for Carolina. Carolina's in the thick of things, and they didn't go out.
Which is probably even worse. Yeah.
They went out to make their future better today, but I don't think they went out to make their today better.
Let's make their future better when you have a shot.
They have a shot today to actually be good. So I don't have an answer for them. But to be honest with you, Carolina, I haven't been a fan of their front office or coaching staff since Cam Newton's been in the league. I have obviously, because of how much I like Cam Newton, I paid attention to them a good amount. And their front office, I mean, they let Norman go for absolutely nothing. And they brought in nothing but rookie secondary players the year after they made a run to the Super Bowl on nothing but really good secondary players and 2 good linebackers. They haven't surrounded Cam with much talent. So
Cam loses his top wide receiver. Now he loses one of his top wide receivers of this year.
Guy who.
So now they gotta get acquainted with each other. I don't get that.
The year that Calvin Benjamin was hurt was the year they went to the Super Bowl. And you're right, Ted Ginn was their number one receiver that year. Right. Him and Olsen. Olsen's a tight end though, but Ginn was their number one, and him and Philly Brown. Philly Brown's not there anymore.
He's gone.
Who is one of their better options? Who was one of their better options? So no, I'm with you. I haven't been a fan of the Carolina moves with their personnel for a long time.
And guess what? When they lose, guess who it comes down on? Cameron, Joel, Newton.
But I didn't. Yeah, and it always does, and it always has, and usually. We've been on this. Look, you can even date it back to the Steve Smith situation where they disrespect that man out the door for literally no reason. That was BS. For absolutely no reason they disrespect him on the way out the door.
They don't like decent great wide receivers.
He had another 1,000-yard year after that. So if we want to talk about that,
in Baltimore of all places. Come on, man.
More off the field stuff before we get to on the field. Really fast, we talked about Zeke Elliott for a couple weeks, so I just wanted to follow up on the story. Ezekiel Elliott. The ruling came down from a New York judge on, what was it, Monday night, I guess, and they said that they're going to uphold the suspension, so he's going to appeal one last time. This is his last option, it sounds like he's going to. And we'll find out in early stages of next week if the 6-game suspension is going to happen or not. So we'll start as soon as next week, or it could get dragged out even longer if the appeal upholds. So
it's exhausting, and I'm over it. I've been over it.
It hasn't distracted him on the field.
I thought it did. Clearly he was
120 plus yards.
No,
2 touchdowns.
That's all I was
21 carries, right? 21 carries.
Clearly he's not the same, and how could he be with so much going on? Right.
You and I never bought into that.
Right.
Neither of us thought that it was
absolutely
a problem.
Dumb. No. So he had a game or two or whatever it was. It was 80 yards instead of 120. I'm sorry.
His 8-yard game is what people will always refer to. And
that happened. But they were saying that in other weeks as well.
I know what you're saying, but that 8-yard game is what they were piling in, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, a bad game.
That happens. The other team is trying to.
Shocking. This situation, like I said it last week and the week before, and I'm going to keep saying it too, it's finally just done, and there's an answer. It is exhausting, and I kind of just don't care anymore because I just want it to be over with. And as much as I want him to defend himself, if he is innocent, he feels that he's innocent, and he has that right to keep defending himself and fighting.
Absolutely.
At this point, I kind of just want him to get over with it as well, because now we're getting closer and closer to, if we get to the postseason, we're getting in the postseason time. That's not good for us.
This is going to hurt them. Us. This looks like it's going to hurt them at a crucial time.
Right, it's going to hurt us even more.
The further it's went out.
Right.
At this point, the best case scenario is that it gets drug out until the summer, and then they make the ruling if he does actually get suspended sometime over the summer. So you just miss the first 6 games, not these middle 6 games, because he's missing 6 games. If he missed 6 weeks right now, that would be a crucial thing. Not saying they can't overcome it.
Eagles winning the division right there.
Not saying right. Washington's already out of it, so because of Dallas win this weweekend. So Dallas is legitimately the only threat to the Eagles, and I'm as excited as I am that the Eagles are 7-1 and Dallas is 4-3 or whatever, because they had a 4-3 I think. Either way, whatever. Point being, as excited I am that the Eagles have the lead they have, 2 losses to Dallas takes it away just like that, and Dallas wins the division, and the Eagles aren't the number 1 seed anymore. Literally that fast. So this coming down for Dallas in this situation, I would much rather, as a Cowboys fan, I would probably want it to go to next year, not happen in the middle of the season, or even like you said, I don't know how that would work if they would. The MLB did a thing where the player who was mocking.
That's bullshit.
We'll talk about that. I'm not saying, bullshit. But they did a thing where they suspended him next year instead of this year because they didn't want to. They didn't want to.
That later. I don't want to talk.
But we're going to talk about that. But I'm saying they didn't want to affect his teammates. They said that his teammates didn't deserve to.
Fuck it, we're talking about it right now.
But hold on,
that is dumb.
All right, well, no, I don't want to talk about it right now. My point is with Zeke Elliott, do you think the NFL would do something like that, where if he was suspended towards the end of the season and he served 4, so that they would make him serve? They would make him sit the playoff game?
The NFL isn't 30 years behind and everything.
They would make him sit the playoff game?
Yeah.
So, my point, to your point there, if this gets drugged out to then, that would just be really bad.
Stupid.
If it goes 2 more weeks, he would miss both Eagles games.
Moronic. Stupid. I don't care. I just want it to be over. I'm exhausted by this topic.
I didn't watch much of the game on Sunday, of the Dallas game. I was watching the Houston Seattle game at the same time, but I did have it on. I was trying to pay attention a little bit about how did Dak overall? Dak, they didn't need a big air game in this. There was a lot of rain coming down, so you wanted to keep it on the ground. You have a big offensive line. This is a good day to use them.
I saw most of it, not all of it, but they were saying him a lot. Well, Dak didn't have a great game. He didn't have to.
He didn't have to, right? Yeah,
it didn't matter.
That's what I was asking. I legitimately haven't looked at his stats or anything.
When you look at it, it's like, okay, that's not bad. Because what? Because he did throw for 400 yards.
Yeah, whatever.
Right, exactly. His completion percentage was fine. His yards, considering what he threw and his yards, it was like, okay, that's understandable.
It was raining. It was a monsoon for most of the third quarter and half of the fourth quarter.
It didn't matter what he did. The Redskins are just garbage.
The Redskins, that was the nail in the coffin. We talked about it last week. If the Redskins lost this game, they had no opportunity. The Redskins haven't won a game in the division. They are 0-3 in a division.
Done.
Lost both games to the Eagles and won to Dallas. Now they literally have no chance mathematically to win the division.
That's funny.
Unless, I think both teams would have to, or the Eagles would have to lose out, Dallas would have to lose another game, and Washington would have to win out for Washington to win the division.
Yeah, good luck.
It's not happening.
No.
So, do you have anything else to say about Dallas or Washington?
No.
The Eagles did what they were supposed to. Looked pretty decent this week. Carson looked a little slow, but it was a short week. So we'll see what's happening there. We talked about the acquisitions they made. Alshon Jeffrey did look good. Had a really nice catch in this one. And
so.
This was actually his best game, but he's been double covered all year.
So.
I think that people right, yeah, exactly. And the defense did what They were supposed to. So
I would hope everything looked good.
This week they're playing Denver. Their defense, it's not as tough of a task as it's going to be for the offense. But I'm excited to see what the Eagles' offense does do against the Denver defense. We'll talk about that coming up. I brought up Houston, Seattle. Kind of just, I don't mean to boast, but damn if I don't brag, these Packers going to be on my ass.
I don't know what you're bragging about.
As Hope would say. This was the battle of the two quarterbacks that I told everybody not to pass on. And they did. And they put up a combined 800-plus yards and 70-plus points. It was the most combined scored points by quarterbacks in the history of a football game. So it feels a little good. There was literally a blog on Hood's Huddle. Back when I used to do a little thing called Hood's Huddle, I used to write a blog and have a small show about me saying that Russell Wilson was going to be better than RG3 because it was Andrew Luck, RG3, and I kept saying y'all are sleeping on Russell Wilson. And I talked about how I thought he was going to be better. And I definitely was on this show this offseason talking about how I felt like Deshaun Watson was the guy that everyone slept on him before the year. I predicted him to be the Rookie of the Year, and I predicted his Houston Texans to get a couple wins. So I felt good. It was fun to watch. That was, as somebody who feels like, people been kind of always down on them, but I've always been up on them. It was fun to see them shine, and it was. I like defensive games better than offensive games, but it was actually a fun shootout to watch. You don't get to watch a lot of shootouts. I watch a lot of those in college football. You don't get to see a lot of those in the NFL, especially against Seattle's defense hasn't given up a touchdown all season in the fourth quarter. They gave up 3 on Sunday. Russell Wilson threw a bad interception also in the middle of the fourth quarter, but he backed it up. Jimmy Graham came alive with 2 touchdowns, the game-winning touchdown with 21 seconds to go. That was a fun game. Not really sure what's up with Seattle's defense. I have not seen them in probably 3.5 years literally play a game that bad. That was very uncharacteristic of them. Maybe that's Deshaun Watson and the Texans' offense. Maybe it's also just something to do with something actually going on with the Seattle's defense. We'll have to keep an eye on that down the line. Something I want to talk about.
If it's been going on for this long, then it's not Deshaun Watson. It's their defense.
But no, this is the first. That's the first time they haven't given up a touchdown all season in the fourth quarter, and they gave up 3 in that game. Their defense has been a lot better this year than even we've been talking about.
Forget the one quarter.
You think they've been bad this year?
That's what I keep hearing.
I haven't looked up their stats, but I mean they've been.
I haven't either, but I keep hearing that they've been off. We've been hearing
they
this last year.
They have a really good front seven. I thought last year they were a little worse than people than they were in years past, but I thought that this year they were pretty much on par. We still predicted them to win.
So maybe they had a bad game.
I think you and I both have been. We haven't really been down on the Seahawks, have we?
Not really.
I don't. Yeah, I think I'm not.
No.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, well, look.
So maybe they just had a bad game. I
base my thing off of JD Sports. You know what I'm saying? Where the real football talk, where the knowledgeable things happen. So I'm not worried about what they talking about out there, man.
Except if you're Skip Bayless.
Except if you're Stephen A. I'm not even worried about what they say.
Anybody that says anything about one of my trigger words.
Oh. We're gonna talk about something that happened.
I'll change the subject too.
Also,
I'm right.
Off the field, look. The trade that we didn't talk about that I think is going to be the biggest one in the NFL, and the reason I didn't say anything about it is because it ties into what our next topic is going to be, was the Texans traded Dwayne Brown, their right guard, for Jeremy Lane, a right guard, and 2 picks. Now, Brown is one of the top 5 guards in the NFL. He held out the first 2 games of the season this year because he wanted a lot more money. He ended up coming back without a deal, but he wasn't happy about it. And he, they gave up 10 sacks their first game and I think 6 sacks their second game. So 16 sacks without him, and they've only given up 12 sacks since. Okay, so let me just put it in that perspective. All right. They've also scored. They scored 12 points in their second game. They scored a lot of points in their first game, but they scored a lot more points with him than without him as well. He's an outspoken player. He has been on this activist whole, taking the knee. He's been in these meetings. He's been very socially active the last couple years, and his owner last week decided to, in a meeting with the players and the owners and Troy Vincent, who is part of the rules committee, who was one of my favorite Eagles, but it's sad because I was a very big fan of him as a child, and he's caught up on the NFL side of this, so I don't know if this is his job or how he actually feels, but it's not looking good on the way he kind of has to please both sides, and he hasn't handled it very well being in the position he's in. They did not... Those meetings, before I get into what the owner said and trading Brown over basically his comments and wanting to walk out.
The trade.
Well, the reason he was traded though was because of his comments and because of.
Less about that.
But that is absolute. You were not focusing on winning as an owner that way. You were just saying that people don't agree with me, and I don't care if you are one of the top 5 best guards. Look, that is the second most position in sports, right? On the football field, right? On the offense, you got to need a quarterback and you need a guard. If you don't have an offensive line, you might as well not even have a quarterback because quarterback has no shot at winning. Look. David Carr was a good quarterback, but we don't know if he was a good quarterback or not because he got sacked literally over 200 times in 5 years. Like,
I understand, but it's irrelevant considering the other thing.
That's not how you should be practicing. If you own a sports team,
it's irrelevant to me.
If you own a sports team, you should not be running. I have a huge problem. If you're running a sports team and you're going to start trading people because of their opinions, you shouldn't be running your sports team. You are never going to win sports. Your fans do not have the best.
For a fact, you're saying that on your opinion that you think that's what.
Why else would you trade the 5th best guard in the NFL?
I don't know.
For a ham sandwich, as Dwight.
I don't know. Sandwich. You don't know that for a fact, though. You're presuming that is what is the case. Look, I'm not saying it was a right move. But to me, it's kind of just a shrug off.
They didn't.
Like, yeah, it was stupid, and I don't. And you're probably right. That probably is most likely 100% of the reason why.
The owner's comments happened.
No, go back to that. Well, don't cut me off. That's probably why he did it. But we can't prove that. And to me, the bigger picture is more so his comments. That is the issue. That is when that is an issue compared to a stupid trade or whatever the hell the reason was, whether it was
I hear you there.
legitimate or not. Like that's why I'm saying I don't care about the trade.
So what I want to also say
I care about
is
what this man said. The trade is irrelevant. I mean, if that is the basis, and we would presume that yes, you're correct. That's why he would do it. Yeah, that's bullshit. But we can't prove it, so it's whatever. You just look stupid regardless. Like
whether making that move, it's very dumb.
Whether it was based on that stupid opinion that you didn't agree with, or if it was
you
a
just
football
did
move,
it's not.
It was stupid.
It's a bad football move.
You look stupid, which is why it's just irrelevant to me.
So,
it's just stupid.
Before we talk about his actual comments,
which is really stupid,
the NFL did not invite Colin Kaepernick to these.
Who?
Colin Kaepernick. The guy who started this whole entire situation. The entire reason that you feel like you needed to have a meeting with your owners, with a select group of owners, a representative for the NFL and Troy Vincent, and 5 players. The reason you feel like you need to do that, the reason is because of what Colin Kaepernick did, but you will not invite the man who started this whole entire thing.
Allegedly, he was invited, wasn't he?
No, he was not invited.
What was he? He was invited to something.
They said they were going to invite him, and they did not. It came out. There were sources out there that they said they were going to, and they never enacted.
That story keeps flip flopping, and I heard he was going then, and I heard he wasn't going, and so did he go or no?
He said he would go, and they did not invite him.
Okay, see, this is.
They said he was not allowed to go. The NFL said he was not allowed to go.
It's just worse than the Zeke situation. Why is he not allowed to go?
I am not sure.
That doesn't make any sense.
He still has an owner. He's still technically under the Players Association.
Because he's suing, and that's why.
Well, yep, you know what?
Well, there it is. Thought you knew.
There it is. That is absolutely ridiculous. And then for these owners to walk in there, what are they trying to solve? This is, again, okay, so what in these meetings, walking away from these meetings outside of the players saying that we are not going to need, and please tell me how you can get the players to do that, because I am all ears to hear on that side of it. But that's never going to happen. You're never going to get the players to just agree with you to do that, because that would be dumb of them to do. They're not just going to follow them in the first place. But what, as owners, do you think you can solve?
Have you ever, in the history of your life as an adult, ever had to have a one-on-one meeting with one of your bosses? Because y'all had a situation, an argument. You don't need to explain the story, but have you ever had to have just a one-on-one conversation with a boss?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because you've had
I worked in construction. I definitely had a good amount of conversations with a couple bosses. Yeah.
Okay. And they want to hear your opinion.
Absolutely.
And you want to hear what they got to say.
Okay.
And what happens when you walk out of that meeting? You're reminded that I hear you, quote unquote, but you're the employee.
That's still the boss.
And I'm the employer, and basically. Whereas I'm saying I hear you, you need to understand that I am your boss, and what I'm saying is going to keep going. And that's kind of what it's coming off as.
But different.
What happens with the Texans, because after the meeting with the Texans, they're quiet. They're not saying anything. They're not saying what happened in the conversation. Right, but they're not talking anymore. They're just quiet. And they're saying...
Well, they were supposed to set up another meeting sometime this week, and guess what the NFL did? Couldn't get it together.
Because
NFL said we couldn't get it together. What do you mean you couldn't get it together?
I'm your boss.
What else are you doing?
You said what you had to say.
What is the point? What is the point of these meetings?
We quote unquote listened. We heard you and your gripes, but you need to understand.
And I
know we heard you. We heard you.
But my point, the NFL is one.
We weren't listening, but we heard you.
And the NFL has no solution to their problem, even though it's not a problem. Is it a problem?
For what?
That these people are kneeing? That these NFL players are kneeing?
As far as I'm concerned, no.
Okay, and they haven't lost ratings.
Impact football.
It hasn't lost ratings to any great magnitude. They haven't lost sponsorships. There has been nothing that has affected
any sponsors. No.
There's been nothing that has affected the field of play, what is going on during football. It hasn't made it good or bad football.
What I've been saying since the beginning of this, if you don't like it, if you turn the game on 3 minutes late, the end.
But not even
you're
just
not
that.
hearing about it.
Not even just that.
I'm past that.
I'm saying now, what is the NFL owners? What is the point of these meetings? What would they like to get out of these meetings?
Because it looks good. It looks good.
It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good when you have an owner saying saying that we can't have the prisoners run the prison. That ends up not looking good. It backfired. Yeah.
You know that guy. What's his name? It doesn't matter. He's irrelevant. That white guy, right? That old white guy.
Bob McNair.
Steve McNair's brother.
Bob McNair.
Oh, this guy Bob. Let's call him Billy Bob. You know, Billy Bob. You know, I love the ignorance out of the fact that he said, it wasn't meant to mean any type of thing.
He apologized the second he said it. That's how we know. No, I'm saying that's how you know he thinks he was. That's how you know he knows it was wrong.
Number one.
That's a problem.
Number two, he claimed it was a figure of speech. It's not like, when have you ever in your life heard somebody say?
I've heard people not that.
Listen, when have you heard anybody
not
ever
prisoners in prison? But I have heard inmates asylum. I heard that, but not prisoners in prison.
And and if you would have said that, I'd have been like, that's messed up.
Still shouldn't have said it.
They would have kept going.
Still not something you should say.
No, but
still not okay.
No.
Still with the
in comparison, it would have been okay.
Okay in comparison, but still.
It would have been like, that's messed up. Keep moving.
It would have went to the arrogant side of you saying that we're the boss and you're the employee, so what we say matters and what you say matters.
Inmates running the prison. So wait, so you're literally saying you run a prison? Is that what your organization represents? Is a prison? Is that what the NFL represents?
And not to take this too PC.
No, it has nothing to do with PC.
A lot of people do feel it is PC, though. And I'm with you on the ignorant side. Not to take this too PC.
One, it's timing. You say that any other year,
all right.
And in you say that 5 years ago, and nobody's batting an eye. It has nothing to do with PC.
I don't disagree with that.
It has everything to do with the insensitivities.
That's the time that we live in.
It has everything to do with the insensitivities in general. And that's the basis. That's the basis of this whole thing. It's the very beginning of it. Why it's going on. It is just the overall picture, which is everybody just neglecting and ignoring.
These players.
It's just I'm gonna just keep poking you with this stick and hope you don't do anything.
I told you
you're gonna poke a little too hard, and you're gonna get a fucking reaction out of me.
Right, I said this before. I said these players, they will say yes because you were paying them, but eventually you can only poke a grown man in the chest so many times. I said that on this show a couple shows ago, and I'm with you. Eventually,
how many of those damn players just said, "Screw this, fuck this practice," and they walked out?
A lot of them walked out. DeAndre Hopkins is the only one that didn't come back. All of them came back, but yeah, I think it was
they all came back.
I think it was 20 plus players. It was always over 20 plus players walked out though. When they heard those comments were made. Look. And what was it? 30 plus players took a knee on their sideline this weekend.
You know what's the worst part is the NFL doesn't care. They have replacement players all the time. Replacement referees, replacement players. They don't care. That's fine. That's the sad reality of it. They don't care. It doesn't matter, John.
I understand.
It's going.
They're not going to just replace these players though. They're not. They can't just kick these players out for this. They're not kicking players out. You're not kicking DeAndre Hopkins out. DeAndre Hopkins is the only shot that him and Watson were the only reason they had a shot to beat Seattle last weekend. He's not trading DeAndre Hopkins tomorrow.
You know why it doesn't matter? Because they came back. All of them came back. Which is weak on their part, frankly. If you want to make a statement, stay away.
I'm not against it.
At least for the day. I would be all for it. Come back the next day if you want.
Hopkins stayed away all day.
One.
I'm with you.
That doesn't make walking away doesn't make a statement to me. Staying away makes a statement.
I guess they were talked back into it by coaches. I don't.
That's why I'm like, was there somebody at a gate saying no, y'all can't leave? Like, how did that work?
I don't know. Well, prisoners in it. Prisoners running prison.
It is a prison.
It is a prison. You don't want the prisoners out.
So they all got to the gate, and only one was like, "Nah, just climb over the motherfucker." Is that what happened?
He's the most athletic one. The rest of them are
there. It is
big. Have to push other big guys around for a living, so they can't climb probably as well as Hopkins can. I think you have it. I think you have.
I just don't see it as a PC thing. I just see it as you just gotta be an ignorant.
Oh, we agree. Person. He should never. He shouldn't say it using inmates in asylum, more or less the prisoners in prison. It's not right in the first place.
It's just bad.
It's
timing.
even worse with what he's saying.
Bad timing. Like I said, you say this 5 years ago. You say this last year. You say it a year from now. You probably wouldn't even think about it.
But I still. But
right now, in the middle of
this, why are you even having these conversations with these players? You aren't. The NFL clearly doesn't care. We know the NFL doesn't care. Sure. The NFL clearly doesn't want to help the cause of the players. They just want it to go away. They're more concerned of them stop kneeing than they are of actually helping inner city problems.
Yeah, right.
And that's the point of these knees in the first place. So
at this point,
so what's the point of these meetings if you're not going to help if you're not going to help their cause? If you have no intention on ever helping their cause, which they clearly don't, then why are you talking to these players in the first? What are you talking to them about?
I don't know.
You had a good game Sunday. Thanks.
At this point, the problem is they're kneeling. The problem isn't what they were kneeling for. That's where we're at.
But that is the problem.
Not no more, eh?
Last on-field thing I want to talk about. Pittsburgh had a problem last week with Martavis Bryant saying some stuff about Juju Smith, and Juju Smith ended up having 170-plus yards and 2 touchdowns while Bryant was basically sat for a game. So good for Juju Smith, who's only 20 years old. Good for him to follow it up like that and basically say, "Hi, you think you're better than me, dude. I got 100-plus yards in the next game out on national TV."
Yeah.
He had 100-plus. It was a 97-yard touchdown. Ben Roethlisberger threw it to him from the 3-yard line. It was fun. It was a good play. They're not back on track. They're continuously winning, and they seem like since that game against Jacksonville, that 5-interception game, they've beaten Kansas City. They just went to Detroit and beat Detroit. Those are 2 pretty significant wins, I would say. They also won a game at home in between. But those are 2 significant games, I would say. Detroit has been winning pretty much, and then Kansas City, speaking of, they beat Denver on the road after having a couple days off there since they played the Thursday game the week before. So those 2 teams with New England, those 3 teams are the class of the AFC, I would still say.
Shocking.
Oakland going on the road and losing, so we thought they were back in the mix, but it seems like they're back out of it.
Oakland's terrible.
Yeah, I'm done with
them.
No Marshawn Lynch last week. Right, and that means they're going to win this week, because you're done with them, that means they'll win this week, right?
I picked them this week, that's so funny.
I don't even know, I think I picked them too, but
I still think they're done.
So the AFC, to me, I think it's very fun. I thought this week added to the good mix that's going on there at the top, and we're going to see, especially now. Last thing with the Patriots with trading Garoppolo, they don't have a backup. I think they're going to go sign Brian Hoyer, but as of right now, with Edelman being hurt, as of that trade, they had no backup quarterback for the week. So we'll see what they do. Anything else to talk about with football?
Nope.
So, you know me. I love playoffs, major sports championships, and most college championships as well. I'm big fan of celebrations and championship games and the intenseness of what's going on and everything. And the MLB is having one of the best series.
Home run derbies of all time. Oh, what?
One of the best series I've ever seen. And I think a lot of it is due to the new style of baseball that they put, or the actual baseball itself that they put in a year and a half ago. Everyone's now talking about it this World Series. But the air has just been just right in the domes. There's been more home runs. The air has been. It was cold last year in the World Series, so balls weren't going as far. The air has been hot in LA, and it's been in a dome for the Houston series. So balls travel a lot further in the heat. Now this World Series, you are seeing that this new ball has that kind of effect on the MLB. Aaron Judge struck out more times than any other batter in the history of baseball this year, but he also hit more home runs than anybody ever has at home as a New York Yankee. With that they are baseball royalty, obviously. So if you did that at Yankee Stadium, that means you basically did it across the MLB. it equates almost the same thing is my point. So what I'm saying, this is the new style of baseball, strikeout or home run. And this home runs in the warm weather, obviously baseball's played in July, so New York in July is still warm, where if it was played right now, it's he looked a little worse in the World Series because there was a couple colder days. In the playoffs because there was a couple colder days. He looked good though in Houston. Point being, this new style of baseball, it's not getting as much movement on pitchers throwing the pitches. Now, people are saying this specific World Series might even have a different baseball than the rest of them. I think it's the same baseball that it has been for the last year and a half. I think people just haven't been paying attention. Because, I brought it up last year, how many home runs were going on. It went on a spike when they put this new baseball in. The back and forth, though, the intenseness, how fun it's been. I think that pulling Rich Hill might have, look, as of right now, as of this recording, the Dodgers are down 3-2 in the series. I think pulling Rich Hill in Game 2 at the time they did is the difference in the series. They used their bullpen too much in that game, and it ends up hurting him for the next 3 games in Houston. He was pitching well at the time. I didn't understand. I didn't get it when they pulled him out. He also statistically has the best numbers the third time through in order. They took him out after the second time through the order. Apparently that was their game plan. And I am somebody who... I like game plans, and I'm all for it when it comes to sports, but sometimes in the middle of the game, you need to adjust your game plan. And he was mowing players down. He only gave up, I think, 2 hits or 3 hits at the time. He was going, and it was only the second time through the order, and they took him out. And he, statistically, this year, had the best numbers the third time through the order across baseball. So then you take him out before he gets the third time through the order on a night that he's already pitching very well. I just didn't understand it. The other side of this for how good the Dodgers bullpen has been, one thing. They have been used so much. You're getting used so much more in the playoffs, so you're going to be more tired every game that goes on than you are in the regular season. You could sit for 4 straight days in the regular season and no one's going to notice. If you sit for 4 straight games in the playoffs, people are going to talk about that no matter how good you are. And you want to be in there as well as a relief pitcher. You don't want to sit for 4 straight days, but you're not used to throwing this many pitches this often. That's one. So the LA Dodgers, their bullpen, that's the reason I picked them. The reason this is happening to them is because they are a little more tired. Number 2 is what I say earlier. The other team is trying. The Astros have the best order 1 through 9 I have legitimately ever seen. Last year I said the Cubs. I'm starting to maybe just think that this is the future of baseball. That these teams are just going to be this stacked at every position where you're not looking for your third baseman to do a specific thing. You're not looking for your shortstop to just get good average. You're not just looking for your second baseman to get a bunch of doubles. You're not looking for your first baseman to get a bunch of home runs. You have guys legitimately at every position that can hit for average, hit for home runs, hit for RBIs. You just 1 through 9. And the Cubs have it, and obviously they're very good. Houston has this kind of lineup. I've never seen a lineup this stacked, and that I said that last year about the Cubs. So you know what I mean? That's why I think this might be the future of the MLB. So like I said, the other team is trying, and the Dodgers, the combination of them being tired and with how good this lineup is, it's just been the right thing for the Astros, and it's made some pretty intense late games. Justin Verlander pitched a really good second game. We'll see what he does in Game 6, and the Astros can close it out in Game 6. So the next time we do this, Dwight, there will be a World Series champion no matter what happens. It has been a fantastic World Series. Game 5 of this World Series is being
7 hours.
It's being talked about as the greatest World Series game of all time.
Shout out to all 3 of you to watch it.
It was very, very good. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. I fell asleep, just like most of the East Coast did.
It's too long. I don't care how great it is.
That sucks. If I fell asleep, if I didn't watch it, and you know me, I'm obsessed with these with championships in sports. If I didn't watch it, it was
That's so long.
Look. I don't
want to see a
1996 was the last
back and forth Cowboys game for 5 hours.
1996 was the last day game for World Series.
I love wrestling. Wrestling. Some of these pay-per-views go 4 hours. I was like, God, this is so long. Like. It's just exhausting. And
small tidbit
just
about
taking my shot at
real small about the Phillies. Real fast, they hired Gabe Kapler as their manager. Very analytics guy. He's all bought in on the numbers, and that's how all of baseball is right now. So we'll
Trust
see.
The process. We're going to be irrelevant in 8 years.
52nd manager in team history. So
they'll pull up all these rookies in 8 years and say, "We told you to trust the process. We were right. We told you."
Speaking of trust process, they won 2 games in Texas over the weekend.
Yeah,
they only lost by a point to Houston at home earlier in the week. So, I mean, they looking better than they did last time we talked about them. I don't want to talk about the Sixers.
Good.
Moving on with basketball. I was just excited that they look all right, but it's early. Moving on, Cavaliers. People are talking about how they're doomed. So it's almost Christmas time. If you're talking about a LeBron James team that isn't playing well, that's like annually. We're about to.
You're allowed to be excited about the Sixers. People are allowed to hate on the Cavaliers.
I hear you. I'm not against that. I'm just saying. It's almost Christmas and it's almost Thanksgiving and Christmas when LeBron James team is not doing well and there's drama. A tweet about how. A passive-aggressive tweet about how he might not be around in the future is coming, in the next week or two, right? I mean, that's got to be...
Something about Derrick Rose or one of his teammates. He'll tweet out about something.
Right, you know what I mean? Like, the way this goes, right? That's how the storyline usually goes. And then Christmas, they kind of, they go on a little run. And then he sits right there in January. And then he comes back a little bit towards January. And then...
they just suck.
And then the Cavaliers end up... every year they suck at this time.
Just old.
I don't know.
Right.
I legitimately haven't sat down and watched the Cavaliers game, but I do look at the stats. And LeBron's stats have been LeBron's stats have been monstrous, but I legitimately haven't sat down and watched the game. It's just like
supposedly, from what I heard, somebody that claims that they're an insider or whatever, which you know how those are.
Right. Only God's an expert, aren't he?
That's factual, but supposedly what these other owners are saying is that they figured out what to do with the Cavs, which is just run on them because they can't keep up. They said,
it makes
literally
sense.
The quote was, make the old guys run.
That sounds good.
And they can't keep
up.
So if it is a thing, then hey, it makes sense.
Or maybe the old guys just don't want to run until the playoffs because that's what LeBron seems to also do.
I don't know.
He's also, I have seen that he's averaging 10 more minutes than any other player on his roster. You don't want to wear him down. That's probably a bad idea.
Got the swan song coming for him already.
I mean, it's not really the best idea on his part to be playing that much. He should probably tell Coach
he's
Lou
the coach.
or himself to sit himself. No, that's why I was saying or himself to sit himself. Somebody's got to let him sit down a little more.
If Embiid can sit, you damn sure can sit.
Right.
Which Embiid shouldn't be sitting, At least LeBron has an excuse because he's old. Embiid's like 12 years old, and let's sit him.
Bradley Beal.
Trust the process. Stupid. The Sixers, not Bradley Beal.
Bradley Beal. I don't know. Bradley Beal decided to pick a fight with Draymond Green. Is that stupid?
He's just ignorant. He is ignorant.
Draymond Green is a stay-ready all-star, as Bomani Jones calls them. You know what I'm saying? You know what stay-ready all-stars are?
Hardly.
They're not dudes that get ready. They're dudes that stay ready. You know what I mean? They're ready to fight. Draymond Green's a stay-ready all-star, yeah. Draymond Green, it looks like you could get him at a bouncy house, in a back alley, at a bar. You could get him at your mama's party, in your bedroom, on a basketball court. Draymond Green will fight you anywhere if you're down to fight. Bradley Beal decided, let's do it right then and there with about 20 seconds left to go in the first half on Friday.
I'm glad you're specifying Bradley Beal does.
Bradley Beal grabbed him by the jaw or the neck and pulled him towards him, and then they decided to hug for about 30 seconds, and then a crowd gathered, and they fell.
The malice in the
They rolled around a little bit. A bunch of fans took some pictures. It looked like Oubre Jr. threw a bunch of punches to the back of the head of Klay Thompson, but we haven't seen anything. I don't know if he connected on any of them, but I know he definitely looked like he threw them.
These players are soft. Back in my day, they used to just go up in the stands like Ron Artest and just fight. I hate these soft players. I had more fun watching that. I'm just saying, if you're gonna be about that life, just be alive.
That was on ESPN on a Friday. Yeah, I had that. I watched it live too. I had it on my TV. I remember I was eating wings from a local bar. My parents went down to that local bar to drink because it used to be in my backyard, and I had that game on. I was going to a friend's house. I was going to go to a friend's house. That game was late in the fourth quarter, middle of the fourth quarter, right? It was late in the fourth quarter. I think the game was ending. I was going to a friend's house, though. I do remember. And I remember I was sitting down eating wings, and I was waiting for the next game to start because I figured, I got a couple minutes, and then that broke out, and I stopped eating right then and there, and I waited for that fight to finish, and then I actually turned it to ESPN News right away. I didn't even watch the next game because I wanted to see the post-game interviews. I remember turning it to ESPN News just to see the reaction. That was wild. But
be about that life. Just be about the life. So this was nothing. These are two dudes hugging. That was cute. And a jersey ripping. It's like the 12 jerseys been ripped because Nike's being cheap.
I mean, LeBron monstered his.
Nike's just made.
Nah, he went up for a dunk or a layup, right?
Yeah, it was something stupid.
Yeah, he was just going up for regular basketball moving a rip.
Nike's messing up, man.
But so Draymond.
Does that happen to my jersey if I buy it?
Yes. No, I don't know.
Why would I want to buy that? Nike, get your stitch game together. Get them little Asian kids that you got slaving in a sweatshop to knit a little tighter. Just saying.
Draymond got fined $20,000. Bradley Beal got $50,000, right?
Yeah, that's.
2 players, Markieff Morris and another player got suspended or another fine or whatever. I don't know.
Draymond got $25,000.
Draymond.
Why? Because he was there.
He was hugging him.
Because his name's Draymond Green.
And not pulling his arms out. Maybe they felt like Draymond pulled him to the ground. I don't know. I don't think that Draymond did a whole lot wrong in that situation.
They claim because he didn't let go. Which, I mean, if you're hugging a man, like I said earlier to you, if we're in boxing and we're hugging, what does the ref do? The ref's got to separate the two because you're going to say he's holding me. I'm going to say he's holding you.
And Draymond clearly has his arm wrapped around, but it's not like Draymond's throwing punches or anything. Look, Draymond...
They're holding each other.
Also, if Draymond went like this, then he's just leaving himself open to a guy who's already willing to fight, obviously.
And what grown man is going to do that when somebody's snatching you up?
And that's literally what I was going to say. He also has a right to defend himself in that situation.
Defend himself as in just... hug him back. He even, like he said, he didn't swing. He didn't do anything back to him that you saw on camera. So him getting fined was just stupid. It's just because of his name.
We agree. I don't know. I think that the NBA can handle things like that a little differently and better. But
both of them got kicked out of the game, which okay, fine. But the extra
Draymond probably shouldn't have gotten kicked out of the game. But
his jersey was gone. So what were we supposed to do?
In that situation, the ref also probably doesn't see what's going on. There might have been something happen in the pile. I'm with you. I don't think Draymond should have gotten fined.
That's stupid.
Before we get to picks, I want to talk about 2 things with college football.
Okay.
Do you want the interesting stuff that's happening on the field?
Let's get the Notre Dame stuff over with.
Or do you want I wasn't going to go with Notre Dame. Well, that's on the interesting stuff that's on the field. Or do you want to talk about the off-the-field stuff that I'm a little angry about?
Let's get the Notre Dame stuff over with.
All right. The college football rankings came out right before we got on here. Notre Dame had a big win this weekend. Not a big win, but not as big as last week. But a win over NC State where they ran for over 400 yards. Josh Adams had 204 yards, 2 touchdowns. They look good. 34-14 they won. The big game of the weekend was Ohio State taking on Penn State. Penn State had a 14-point lead less than 3 minutes into the game. They end up getting outscored 39-24 the next 56 minutes of the game, and they lose with about 20 to 30 seconds left. Their defense did not look good throughout the game. Barkley, people are saying he had a bad game. Look, he had a touchdown return, and then he had another touchdown in the game. Other than that 30-yard play, he had only, I think it was like 15 yards on 20-some carries. But their offensive line legitimately could not block Ohio State's defensive line. Every single play that they ran the ball or passed, somebody was in the backfield. I'm not saying you blame Barkley. I'm not saying you take the Heisman away from him because everyone's already deemed him the Heisman winner. I think the Heisman's a BS award anyways, and it's usually not handed out the right way. So I don't know how they're going to do it this year when you have a lot of good candidates. You have guys like Josh Adams, who I just said ran for 200 yards. I mean, you would have to throw a guy like him in there. But Barkley also has put up
somebody. That's what you know. MVP race. You just pick somebody.
But I've never been the Heisman's the worst version of this, and it has been for a very long time.
Pick somebody. That's how you do it.
It's not done fairly. It's dumb. Anyways, point being, I don't care who wins the Heisman in the first place, and I don't think that if you want to be in that Heisman talk, I wouldn't hold this game against Barkley because his offensive line was not blocking anybody. Penn State, their offense struggled a little bit after the first quarter. Ohio State defense kind of got into a groove, but their defense was really the concern that I would have with them moving forward. But the rankings came out right before we got here. Georgia is number 1 over Bama. I think the only reason that they would be number 1 is because they beat Notre Dame, and Alabama has dominated everybody they played, but they just haven't played a big school, like a notable top 15 school. They had Notre Dame at number 3, who has legitimately looked very well. And then they had Clemson at 4, who has also looked very well in my eyes. Clemson's only loss came to Syracuse when the quarterback got knocked out at halftime on a Friday, which people do factor in, especially in college football. I do think road games factor in college football. Now, Miami and Wisconsin are both undefeated. I think that both of them, if it ended today, you couldn't tell them that they shouldn't be in the playoffs with Georgia and Alabama. But Georgia and Alabama will have to play each other. Miami still plays Notre Dame, and Wisconsin will have to play Ohio State or Penn State. So it will work itself out in the end. I know that. I'm not sitting here making a big fuss about it, but I would understand if you were Wisconsin and Miami why you would be upset that you weren't ranked, even though they haven't beat teams that Notre Dame or Clemson have beat. Notre Dame and Clemson have beat better teams than either Miami or Wisconsin have beaten. I agree with that, but I think of Notre Dame and Oklahoma, who has one loss. I think Oklahoma has beaten better teams than Bama has. I think Georgia obviously has the best strength of schedule to this point. Well, best schedule looking to this point. I think Notre Dame's wins do probably go over a lot more, and their only loss is to Georgia by 1 point. So there's a lot factored in there. There's a lot to go in there. As a Notre Dame fan, I'm happy and excited. I do think they are one of the best 4 teams, even though they don't have one of the best 4 records. I am excited that they do, it looks like, have a path that if they win out, they have to beat Miami and Stanford and a couple other teams along the way, Wake Forest this Saturday, to make the playoffs. But this is the best Notre Dame team I've seen in my lifetime. Their wide receivers scare me a little bit, but everything else seems very dominant, and their offensive line is incredibly good. So we will see moving forward. I'm excited to see what happens with Miami. They have a big game this week against Virginia Tech, who they could, if with a win over Miami, get into this race. Ohio State and Penn State, and if Ohio State loses 2 games, then Penn State would play in the Big Ten championship. But Ohio State would have to lose 2 more games because they didn't lose in Big Ten conference play the way Penn State now has. But one of them will end up playing Wisconsin. The winner of the Big Ten will make it in, so we'll see. Washington might throw their hat in this as well. I'm excited for the next month of college football. I love college football. This is the time of year it does this. It ramps up. There's 4, 5, 6 games. I think there's 5 games left for everybody, about 5 games. So this is going to be very fun, and there's a lot in there. I just said how much. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on right now. So I'm, as a college football junkie, this is super exciting. And the reaction to the rankings, I haven't seen them. I'm sure they're going to be mad that Notre Dame's in the top 4 because they aren't in the top 4 of any other rankings. But the other rankings go off of week to week, where these rankings don't start until this week, and I think that's why they took everything into it that way. Nothing matters until the last week anyways, so we've seen these rankings literally get flipped up from one week to the next for no rhyme or reason as well. You see them on this week, and then all the teams won, but they weren't in the Final Four the week of the Final Four. So that's another thing. It's so early in this, you know what I mean, that these rankings don't mean as much as what people are going to probably freak out about. The thing I wanted to talk about real fast, maybe not real fast, but just before we get into our picks, I don't know what I'm more mad about, but I'm mad about a couple things in the stories. Have you heard about the story about Florida firing their coach last week, Jim McElwain? Florida.
I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Jim McElwain, the SEC is one of the toughest, if not the toughest, conference in college football. He was 15-4 going into the month last month. He's lost a couple of games this month that he probably shouldn't have. Jim McElwain claimed that he and his family and a couple players were getting death threats. That makes the fan base look pretty bad if they were doing that. So the university, it's dumb, it's disrespectful. The fans you should never take sports that far.
No, and I agree. You know why I'm laughing? Because what did he just open up his Twitter and see that? Because that's every athlete and that's every celebrity that exists in the world. So where was he getting? Was these mailed?
I guess
to
he was
his house,
getting. He said they were letters.
Okay.
So the university, because they did not want
to say welcome to the internet.
The university did not want their fans and their fan base to look this way, because to be honest with you, if your fan base does this, what kind of recruit wants to go to a place where you're getting death threats? So they felt like it was pretty bad, and they wanted proof. They asked him to just bring them the letters and whatnot, and I guess he couldn't bring burden of proof. I guess this might. So now the university. So now
he's just making it up.
So that to me, I have a huge problem.
So now he's just getting tweeted at.
You're saying that you and your players are getting death threats, and you're not. So you're making the fan base look really bad in that sense, okay?
That's what I'm saying. Are you walking through the tunnel and people are yelling this? Are you going on Twitter?
I have a huge...
Is somebody in your mentions? This shit happens all the time.
Huge problem with him saying this and doing this. The university decided that they looked into firing him for cause, which if they fire him for cause, then that's the only way you can get a college coach and not pay him on the way out. They were done with this. They felt like he lied about the situation. They were not a fan of, I guess, the way he handled it.
Shocking.
They end up negotiating and buying his contract. His buyout was $10 million. Instead of finding cause and firing him for nothing, he agreed to walk for $4 million. So he got fired for $4 million, right? So I'm really mad about the death threats. I am more mad that
allegedly
the players. No, I'm mad that I am mad because he made up the death threats. He made this up. He never brought. I'm very mad about that. He should never do that. Anybody should never do that.
Right.
The players found out on Twitter, and then started calling and texting each other. The university and the coach both knew for over a week that they were negotiating this, that they were talking about firing him and getting him out of the door, and the players found out on Twitter and from each other.
Welcome to the world. That happens a lot these days, actually.
Few things infuriate me more than the way these kids are handled in college football.
I've seen professional people have this happen to them.
And you know what? They're getting paid millions of dollars, so I'm completely okay with that.
That does not make it okay. No, that does not make it.
It makes it better.
No, it does not.
It makes it a whole heck of a lot better. Not. You do not pick you get drafted. Most players get drafted to the teams that they went to. You pick your school based on the coach. You pick your team. Pick your school based on the coaching staff in front of you.
Doesn't make it any better. It's both scummy. You should always find out before.
I agree with you. I'm not against that, but I just find
I should find out my manager changed in person as opposed to going on Twitter and saying it.
I 1,010% agree.
Okay, well then, no, it is the same.
We do find out in person. You find out in person. I find out in person.
You should always find out in person. That's Grammy. You should not find out on... This is a stupid-ass age we live in. I find out breaking news about... you, who I know.
The coach should have sat them down.
Social media.
The coach should have sat them down. He needed to, man-to-man, face-to-face, look at them and tell those kids that he was working on making his millions of dollars on his buyout because he didn't want to be there anymore because the university didn't want him there anymore, instead of just cowardly making up that you had death threats and then cowardly...
No, this ain't how it works anymore, dude.
Not even explaining anything to these kids on the way out.
It's not how it works anymore. You want to find out something?
And Jim McElwain will go get another $4 or $5 million contract and job somewhere else. These kids will end up playing for a bad Florida team for a couple years.
So transfer.
No, wait. The NCAA rules make that really hard too. You got to wait 2 years before you want to do that one. I have no. I really hope Jim McElwain doesn't get another job, to be honest with you. I don't say that about people. I don't root for firings. I look at these people as humans and have families. I hope that man does not get another job. You should not treat anybody, especially college kids, these ways. This is absolutely... You're making money off of it, so good for you, Jim McElwain. I hope you are... He will be. You know why? Because he got $4 million, so he is happy.
Yep.
All right, Dwight, you want to talk about something that doesn't fire me up near as much? We're getting us some picks here because I'm pretty much done with that. Last week.
Yeah, let's do it.
I went 9-4 last week. Did I? Not well. Did I?
9-4 is good. What you talking about?
What'd you do?
10-3.
I ain't do as good as Dwight.
I'm about to do a sneak attack on you and come back.
I'm 79-40.
I'm a gross number 76. That's a gross number.
You're not that far behind me, though.
76 is just gross because it's 76ers. I hate that number. That's a gross number. 76 and 40. No, 76 and 43. So what? 3.
Yeah, you're 3 games behind me. I'm 79-40.
No call to come back. Been here all day.
Hey, you're chipping me up. One game at a time. You will beat me if you do this.
Well, I have some wild picks that I feel like are going to be completely wrong, but I just went there. So
okay.
There's like 3 of them at least.
All right.
So it's probably going to just blow back up, but we'll see.
We had a garbage game last Thursday. We didn't even talk about it. Do you think Golancha should have been suspended for that hit? Did you see the hit on Joe Flacco?
Yeah, I saw it, and no, he shouldn't have been suspended.
I agree, he wasn't suspended.
People need it.
No, I agree. I don't think he should have been suspended either.
I just can't stand everything's a dirty hit, everything's a concussion thing now.
I'll be honest with you, intent has a lot to do with it, and I don't think he had any intention on trying to hurt Joe Flacco.
People don't understand real time. When you're doing something at real time with full momentum, sometimes stuff is just going to happen.
They're running very fast out there.
Stuff's going to happen. You're going to do something that I don't expect you to do. I'm going to nail you.
This week, Uncle Raj sort of throw you a bone, but I don't think he was trying to because he didn't think the Jets were going to be this good, even though they're not. Buffalo, though, way better than expected as well.
Uncle Raj didn't tell me anything except another piece of garbage.
Buffalo leaving the state to go play the Jets in New Jersey. Who do you got?
I'm flying with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the New York team. I'm going with the Buffalo Bills as well in this one.
Yep.
The only New York team. Don't forget that. Indy taking on Houston. Houston traded away their guard, which I was not a fan of. But they are playing the Colts, who looked good against Cincy, still lost. Who you got?
I have a Andrew Luck ain't playing. I'm going to the Texans.
I'm going to take the Texans as well. Denver taking on Philly on a short week. Denver offense hasn't done too much, and Philly has obviously overall looked as well as they have. So who do you got in that one?
I took defense in this. I'm going with the Broncos on the road.
I'm taking the Eagles. The reason it was...
Look, this is going to prove one thing or another. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah, I agree. Denver on a short week.
The Eagles.
Denver on a short week, flying across the country and playing at 1:00. I don't think that was really right of the NFL to do to them, but the NFL usually doesn't care about anything except money.
It's going to prove one thing or the other for the Eagles, so we'll know what's up.
Baltimore taking on Tennessee.
Right. I went with Tennessee.
Yeah, I figured. Tennessee. I mean, at Baltimore, we don't even know who's going to play quarterback for him, and if they do, is he going to have an ear if it's Joe Flacco?
So I'm assuming you took Tennessee?
Yeah, I definitely took Tennessee in that one. Tampa Bay going to New Orleans. New Orleans, you brought it up last week, sneaky good.
They won 5 straight, bro.
Playing better defense than expected. They have a rookie cornerback that has only been thrown on twice. Are you ready for this? He has a pass deflection and an interception in those 2 times. They have not thrown it to his side other than those 2 times. Who are you taking?
I got Tampa Bay taking their 5th straight loss. I'm going with New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm going with the Saints as well. With their defense playing better than they have, with their offense being as good as they are, and Tampa Bay only scoring 3 points last week, I'm taking New Orleans.
I thought you were going to take Tampa Bay.
Cincinnati taking on Jacksonville. I had a hard time with this one.
A little bit.
I had a hard time with this one.
Again, I have a theme going this week, which is defense. I'm going Jacksonville.
I'm taking Jacksonville as well because of their defense, and I think that they can control the clock enough with Leonard Fournette coming back. I don't think Cincinnati's that good. The Rams taking on the G-Men. It's a 1:00 game, so the Rams flying across country playing at 1:00. You know how I feel about that. Who you got?
Giants are trash, Rams.
I'm taking the Rams as well. The Giants don't seem like they have...
At what point do you just sit Eli and
anything
just
for
chill
that
him
defense?
out? Like, just sit him out. Like, I'm not even saying replace him altogether for next year. I'm just saying, why don't you just, why is he still playing?
Because if he's going to retire soon, he wants to get them numbers to stick. You got to... Because, look, the conversation is he going to be a Hall of Famer or not? The only way you ensure he's a Hall of Famer is by padding his stats a little bit.
Interceptions?
I mean, we agree there. But he's thrown a lot of interceptions anyway, so if he throws another, 30 this year, what does it matter?
Stank faces? Like, what is he going for?
Most awkward running.
I thought it was his brother. No?
The Mannings just... They're not mobile. They can pass that ball. They're just not mobile.
One of them could pass. Or 2 of them.
Yeah. Archie.
Yeah.
Atlanta taking on Carolina.
Why we act like that man that went to Super Bowls?
I mean, he was on a roster. He was on a roster that won 2 Super Bowls.
So was Trent Dilfer.
On one that won one, yeah, absolutely.
That was low. We both just always trash Eli.
Look,
he never gets any credit.
Look,
no credit.
Robert Horry got 7 rings, dog.
Don't disrespect Robert Horry.
I fuck with Robert Horry, mess with Robert Horry, but
no, you said it right.
But I get down with Robert Horry more than I get down with Eli.
Not disrespect Robert Horry.
I'm just pointing out.
Robert Horry is clutch.
Robert Horry is clutch, but Eli, look, he got the helmet pass. And the throw to Plexico in the corner.
The guy that caught it got the pass.
And the throw to Plexico in the corner.
So Plexico got it. And Odell caught it. And is Eli getting any credit here? Does he ever?
Atlanta taking on Carolina.
He doesn't.
In Carolina. Carolina has traded away one of their good wide receivers, but Atlanta's secondary isn't all that good, but the rest of their defense has played a lot better than expected. Their offense hasn't moved the ball as well as I thought, and Carolina's defense has played a lot better than I thought going into this year. I'm taking Carolina in this one.
I don't understand this division. I don't understand any of these teams. I don't understand any of these teams in this game. I went with Carolina just because I don't know who to go with.
You were talking about the division, and we talked about the Saints winning 5 straight. Every single year except for the year that Carolina has won it back-to-back, nobody it's been won by somebody different every year. To keep that trend going, New Orleans being the weird team to come circle the wagon from the bottom. But it seems like that's what happens in this division. The teams at the bottom just keep rotating to the top.
Wasn't it like week 2, week 3 or something? We were saying they were dead.
They were dead.
Because
their defense gave up like 1 billion points in the first 2 weeks.
And Drew Brees said, I'm still out here.
They found a running game after they traded Adrian Peterson. They scored more touchdowns on the ground this week than they did through the air last week. Wasn't it crazy?
I don't follow.
Who are you taking, Atlanta, Carolina? I'm sorry.
Carolina.
Okay, we're both taking Carolina in that one. Washington going across country to take on Seattle. Their season is practically dead, except if they basically win out. They're taking on Seattle, who seems like they have pretty much control of their division. They have another game with the Rams, but they beat the Rams on the road once already. So this is getting down to that time where you start separating yourself from the bunch. Seattle could get another home win here. Who you got?
Seattle, there's no way Washington's competing.
Yeah, I don't see Washington competing too. And 3 straight losses like that for Washington, I really think that they would just as a franchise kind of...
Yeah, their opportunity was last week and they blew it. And going to Seattle.
Yeah, the last couple weeks was their opportunity. And they didn't pull out any of them.
Right. But a big...
You're right. No, yeah, that was it.
That would have been against Dallas.
That was the nail in the coffin. If they beat Dallas, they have an opportunity, and they'd have no opportunity now.
Still wouldn't have picked them this week, but I'm just saying.
Arizona taking on San Francisco. Yeah, me too. I wouldn't take them either. But Arizona taking on San Francisco. Who you got?
Brian Hoyer. Oh, wait. They might have Brian Hoyer anymore. Cardinals.
Cardinals are playing Skelton.
49ers are playing who?
Brintle out of Iowa. Yeah, no, I agree.
The kicker?
I took San Francisco because I don't see them going winless.
Frank Gore isn't there anymore. This is how much I... Carlos Hyde? No.
Mm-hmm.
Is he still there? I thought he was hurt.
No, he's...
Oh.
He played.
I have no idea.
He played against
when you're 0-12, I don't know anything about you. I mean, you're trash.
Like I said, I picked them just because I don't see them and the Browns both not winning a game this year. And this would be one of the opportunities for San Francisco, you would think, on paper. But usually it doesn't work that well. Usually they're not beating the team they shouldn't.
Yeah.
KC taking on Dallas in Dallas. A big 4 o'clock game for both teams. This will be, for Dallas, as you said, like a prove-it game, a legit game.
For them.
This could be not turn around the season, but prove to people who don't think that they are all that good.
Let's get by while Zeke's here. Yeah.
And let's see what their defense can do against another legit offense here in Kansas City. This is the first time since Green Bay that they're playing a good offense, right? So, I had a hard time with this one, but I did end up... I took Kansas City. Kansas City on a short week. I think that defense is going to have a very hard time stopping Dallas's offense throughout the entire game. And Dallas is going to end up controlling the clock the way they did in the Rams and the Green Bay game. And the way... I feel like they've learned from their mistakes in those games. I know, that's what I'm saying. I feel like they've learned from their mistakes in those games, but I still feel like Kansas City just has that kind of offense, that they are lethal. They have so many weapons. If they are healthy going into this and have every player available, I think Kansas City beats Dallas.
I'm consistent. I don't care if it's my team or not. I have that defense in Kansas City beating us. I just think there's no way. I don't think there's any way we can put up. I don't think we're putting up 30 like we've been doing the past 4 weeks. Definitely. I think
they might be able to, though. It's a short week for Kansas City. I think their offense is going to do all right. I think it's going to be more Dallas' defense is going to be the problem.
Yeah, I could care less about a short week. The fact of the matter is Kansas City just has a great defense in general. I just don't see us doing those type of numbers. Maybe we get 20-something, but I think Kansas City, just like any other team, can basically, outside of garbage like the 49ers and the Redskins, can put up 30 as well. So if you're asking me, am I going to take a team that has a good defense with 30 or a team that has a terrible defense in 30, I'm going to go with the good defense and say
I agree.
They're going to stop Dallas. And they're not going to put up 30, and that's going to be a difference maker. As much as I want them to win, don't get it twisted. I'm just not stupid.
Yeah, I mean, we both picked against our teams many times in the show. The 8 o'clock game is Oakland taking on Miami. Cutler's coming back.
Cool. Did he run out of cigarettes?
Miami...
He needs something to support his habit. That's why he's playing, right? Smoking habit. We're not talking about offensive line play.
Line play. Miami...
I mean, it's offensive. It's not offensive play that takes place.
It's a little offensive, yeah.
I said offensive line play.
Oakland, to keep themselves in contention, basically needs a win here. And Miami, a lot of people feel like has conceded this season. So
they conceded when they signed Jay Cutler.
I guess we'll see. I'm taking Oakland.
Oh, man, this is so garbage, man. I don't care if the Raiders look great here, which I picked them. I don't care if they look great.
They'll have Marshawn Lynch this week.
It's not going to mean anything. Even if they look great, it doesn't mean anything.
No, I understand.
Because they're so just off in general. And then imagine if they lose this.
Yeah, I mean, that would spin the whirlwind through them and the rest of the AFC, and that would end it.
Yeah, I guess we're officially going to say they're done then, huh?
Well, they've had, 4 losses already now, so it's hard. It's going to be hard for them
to lose this. Come on, man.
I mean, they can't lose more than, 3 more games, 2 more games. Yeah. If they have 7 losses in a season, it's going to be hard to make the playoffs. So to lose 3 more games is not good.
Yeah,
they have to
just in general, yeah.
This becomes a very, very crucial week for them. Every week does, but this is right here in front of them. Before Aaron Rodgers got hurt, man, the NFL had a great Monday night game on their hands with Detroit going to Lambeau to take on Green Bay. But Detroit, to stay with Minnesota and have a chance at the division, needs to win this one. I'm taking Detroit. They also didn't look all that bad against the Steelers. But the Steelers are just a good team. So I'm taking Detroit on Monday night.
Man, unless the Packers play the Browns or the 49ers moving forward, you're going to be hard-pressed for me to pick them. I'm going with the Lions.
So...
Just saying.
I figured we both would do that. It's going to be hopefully a good weekend of football. College football should be fun as well. We're getting into crunch time. Before we come back on the air, because this will be up Wednesday or Thursday probably, and it won't be up till the next Wednesday or Thursday probably. Happy birthday to my man Dwight. It will be next week.
Appreciate it.
So, everyone, show some love to the producer / co-host of the show. Happy birthday.
Do that. Appreciate it.
I feel like we're probably going to party this weekend. That's the game plan. So... that'll be exciting. And absolutely, we party. That's what Team Turn Up does. It's been a while since it was Team Turn Up too. So busy lives, different schedules, and we're definitely linking up this weekend. So that'll be exciting.
Getting old, but I ain't too old to do that. Eh?
Before we end it, Jay-Z getting a big award from the Grammys. He's getting recognized by the Grammy Association. It's gonna be the night before at the gala. Apparently, it's their big award. It's an industry thing, and he's the first hip-hop artist to ever win it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so shout out to my man Jay-Z, Sean Carter. We all know how big of a fan I am of him, so that's a really big deal. That's really cool and good for him. The Grammys haven't really recognized hip-hop all that much ever. So as hip-hop fans, to know that Jay-Z is getting a pretty big award from them, this is the year of Sean Carter, man. I'm excited for him. So shout out, congratulations to Jay-Z. We'll be back next week, JD Sports in the